reading comes from the book of John, chapter 20. The subtitle is The Empty Tomb. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him." So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus' head. The cloth was still lying in its place, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, also went inside. He saw and believed. They still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to where they were staying. What I would like to do is first, regarding these verses that we just read, it's important to know that the disciples did not remember what Scripture had said and what Jesus had told them, that he needed to die and that he was going to be resurrected after the third day. They were confused in some ways, and they didn't know what was going on. Then let's continue reading to see this part. Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene is the subtitle. Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her. Something that is very, very important to understand from this passage, and that I think is very clear as to what Jesus wants from us, is that when Jesus approached Mary, she didn't know who he was. It was until he called her by her name, in the way that he knew how, that she recognized him. Jesus doesn't want to have a distant relationship from us. He wants us to have a close relationship, a personal relationship with him. And he knows your name, and he knows what you need. He also knows when you're hurting. He knows when you're crying, and he's there for you. What is the most important thing from this is that Mary Magdalene went to look for him. Even if she was crying, she asked, even who she thought was a gardener. If we seek Jesus, if we do this and take that first step to look for him, we'll find him. If we are suffering, if we're in pain, if we're crying, we feel very sad, lonely, hopeless, God is gonna ask you, "Why are you crying?" But he's not gonna stop there. He's gonna ask you, "Why are you crying?" And then he'll call you by your name and tell you, "I am here for you." The most important thing from this message is that Jesus wants a close and personal relationship with you, and that he knows you by your name. So take that first step, seek Him, look for Him, and you will find Him.